This is the last part of our gram-negative cocci lecture. And in this lecture, we are going to finish up by discussing our non-pathogenic Neisseria species. And the first non-pathogenic Neisseria species we'll mention is Neisseria cinerea. And this organism can be misidentified as a gonococcus or Neisseria gonorrhea. So if there was a commercial identification system being used, and there are many commercial systems used for all of the organisms, it sometimes will misidentify as a Neisseria gonorrhea when it actually isn't. It has a very similar morphology to Neisseria gonorrhea. It is susceptible to colistin though, so it doesn't grow well on the selective media that contains the antibiotic colistin. And this organism is DNase negative. Here is a picture of Neisseria cinerea growing on a blood agar plate after 48 hours. Another non-pathogenic Neisseria is Neisseria flavescens. This organism has a yellow pigment. Like Moraxella cataralis, it is asaccharidic, meaning it does not ferment carbohydrates, and it will grow on sheep blood agar and chocolate agar at room temperature. Neisseria lactamica is a commensal organism in the nasopharynx of infants and children. Carriage, or the amount of individuals that are carrying Neisseria lactamica, will peak at around 2 years of age. However, it will start to decline, so kids will stop carrying it after the age of 2, and it is rarely isolated from the nasopharynx of adults. It is the only Neisseria species that will utilize the carbohydrate lactose. It is morphologically similar to meningococcus or Neisseria meningitidis. It is able to grow on selective media, and it does ferment glucose and maltose. So on those sugar tube tests, you will see positive glucose and maltose utilization, and it has positive ONPG, which we will talk about ONPG tests in more detail later when in actually the next couple of lectures when we're talking about gram-negative rods. Here's Neisseria lactamica, both on sheep blood agar and chocolate agar. This is 48 hours of growth, and the organism looks somewhat similar to Neisseria meningitidis. Neisseria mucosa is another non-pathogenic Neisseria that has large colonies that will adhere to the agar. It's very mucoid. It is isolated from the nasopharynx of children and young adults, as well as the airways of dolphins. It can cause an opportunistic pneumonia in children. It lacks pigments, and it's able to reduce nitrite to nitrogen gas. Some other non-pathogenic Neisseria species, Neisseria sicca, has very dry, wrinkled, breadcrumb-like adherent colonies, and it's a commensal of the respiratory tract of adults. Neisseria subflava means less yellow, and this is able to grow on both sheep blood and chocolate agars at room temperature. Here is Neisseria sicca with that very dry, wrinkled appearance. And here is subflava with its yellow pigmentation. Kingella denitrificans is another organism in the Neisseriaceae family. It is actually a gram-negative rod. So we will talk about Kingella in the next lecture in week 5, but it even though it's a gram-negative rod, it can have coccide forms, and it is in the Neisseriaceae family. It is negative for catalase. It has been associated with endocarditis, and it's normal flora in the upper respiratory tract. Here is a flow chart of the Neisseriaceae family. You could see your genus Neisseria, Kingella, Kingella, commensal, and Neisseria, and we focused on the Neisseria because Neisseria contains the species gonorrhea and meningitis, which are the two pathogenic organisms of the Neisseria. And that's it for our week 4 gram-negative cocci lecture.